Weneg, or Uneg, also known as Weneg-Nebty, is the throne name of an early Egyptian king who ruled during the Second Dynasty. Although his chronological position is clear to Egyptologists, it is unclear for how long King Weneg ruled. It is also unclear as to which of the archaeologically identified Horus-kings corresponds to Weneg. The name Weneg is generally accepted to be a Nebty or throne name, introduced by the crest of the two ladies, the goddesses Nekhbet and Wadchat, and the Sejanbi crest. Weneg's name appears in black ink inscriptions on alabaster fragments and in inscriptions on schist vessels. 17 vessels bearing his name have been preserved. 11 of them were found in the underground galleries beneath the step pyramid of King Djoser at Saqqara. Egyptologists such as Wolfgang Helck and Francesco Turedritti point out that all the inscriptions are made in the place of existing inscriptions, which means that the names that were originally placed on the vessels were completely different. The symbol that was used to write Weneg's name is the object of significant dispute between Egyptologists to this day. The so-called Weneg flower is rarely used in Egyptian writing. Mysteriously, the Weneg flower is often guided by 6 vertical strokes, 3 of them on each side of the flower bud. The meaning of these strokes is unknown. After Weneg's death, his heraldic flower was not used again until King Teti, 6th dynasty, when it was used in his pyramid texts to name a Weneg as a sky and death deity which was addressed with son of our aid and follower of the deceased king. So it seems that the Weneg flower was somehow connected with the Egyptian sun and death cult. But the true meaning of the flower as a king's name remains unknown. Since Weneg's name first became known to Egyptologists, scholars have been trying to match the Nebty name of Weneg to contemporary Horus-kings. The following sections discuss some of the theories. Egyptologist Joachim Kahl argues that Weneg was the same person as King Weneg, the second ruler of the Second Dynasty. He points to a vessel fragment made from an igneous material, which was found in the tomb of King Peribsen, a later ruler of the Second Dynasty, at Abydos. He believed he had found on the potsherd weak, but clear, traces of the Weneg flower beneath the inscribed name of King Ninetjer. On the right side of Ninetjer's name, the depiction of the Ka house of King Weneg is partially preserved. The complete arrangement led Kahl to the conclusion that the Weneg flower and Weneg's name were connected to each other, and King Ninetjer later replaced the inscription. Kahl also points out that King Ninetjer wrote his name mirrored, so that his name points in the opposite direction to Weneg's name. Kahl's theory is the subject of continuing debate since the vessel inscription is badly damaged and thus leaves plenty of room for varying interpretations. Egyptologists such as Nicholas Greibel, Wolfgang Helck, and Walter Bryan Emery identify Weneg with King Sekhmet Perenmat and with the Ramesside royal cartouche name Wajeans. Their theory is based on the assumption that Sekhmet and Seth Peribsen were different rulers and that both were the immediate successors of King Ninetjer. But this theory is not commonly accepted, because clay seals of Sekhmet were found in the tomb of King Kheskenwi, the last ruler of the Second Dynasty. The clay seal set Sekhmet's reign close to Kheskenwi's, whilst the Ramesside name Wajeans is placed near the beginning of the Second Dynasty. Egyptologists such as Peter Kaplany and Richard Weil argue that Weneg was a separate king from other kings of the period. They suggest that Weneg succeeded Ninetjer and his name is preserved in Ramesside king lists under the name Wajeans. Their assumption is firstly based on the widely accepted theory that Ramesside scribes interchanged the Weneg flower with the papyrus Ha'am, changing it into the name Wajeans. Secondly, Kaplany and Weil's theory is based on the inscription on the Cairo stone. They believe that the name Weneg Sekhemwi is preserved over the third line of Ur events. This theory is also not widely accepted, as the Cairo stone is badly damaged and the very weak traces of the hieroglyphs leave too much room for different interpretations. Little is known about Weneg's reign. The vessel inscriptions mentioning his name only show reports about ceremonial events, such as the raising up of the Pillars of Horus. This feast is frequently reported on vessels from Ninetjer's reign, which brings Weneg's chronological position very close to that of Ninetjer. The length of Weneg's rulership is unknown. If he was the same person as King Wajeans, he ruled, according to the royal canon of Turin, for 54 years. If Weneg was the same person as King Tlos, mentioned by the historian Manetho, he ruled for 17 years. But modern Egyptologists have doubts about both statements and evaluate them as misinterpretations or exaggerations. If Weneg was actually a separate ruler, as Richard Weil and Peter Kaplany believe, he may have ruled for 12 years, depending on their reconstructions of the Cairo stone inscriptions. One theory suggests that the once unified kingdom of Egypt was divided after Ninetjer's death into 2 parts. Consequently, for a period after King Weneg's death, two kings ruled at the same time over Egypt, suggesting that Weneg was an independent ruler. This assumption is based on the observation that both the Tenite and Memphite king lists of the Ramesside era mention the names Wajines and Senaj as the immediate successors of King Ninetjer. The Abydos king lists, for example, mention only 6 kings for the second dynasty, whilst all the other king lists mention 9 kings. So Weneg may have been the last king who had ruled over the whole of Egypt, before sharing his throne and control over Egypt with another king. It remains unclear who the other king may have been. Weneg's successor may have been Senaj, but even that is uncertain in the shadowy period of the second dynasty of Egypt.